Hello, wrestling fans, and welcome to the latest edition of the We Can't Wrestle podcast. Nate Maxon, your host, here with you, of course, as always, with my brother Aaron.
What's up, everyone?
And we are continuing this week with our journey through the Pro Wrestling Illustrated Top 500, the first one, and we're going to continue that. The only thing that I'll mention at the beginning of the show is as we start recording this show this week, it was just announced on AEW Rampage that CM Punk has to relinquish the AEW World Championship. Apparently, he got a broken foot. So that is, kind of a setback for them. But I mean, it's not like it makes a difference in the ratings anyway. The ratings have stayed the same no matter who's on top. But kind of a bummer for Punk. He just won the title.
And if anybody follows me, they're going to know that I didn't know CM Punk was the AEW champion. So
I do think you should, if you have not, the one thing I will recommend to you is to go out of your way to watch the MJF promo from Dynamite.
Yeah, I was probably going to do that tomorrow.
It's the show itself this week wasn't anything to write home about, but that promo was fantastic.
I'll probably watch it tomorrow.
All right, so anyway, like I said, going through the Pro Wrestling Illustrated, the first one from 1991. Last week we left off with a Mystery Humongous at 312.
Yes, which, I mean, if people don't know, the PWI 1991 like 500 is mainly the 1990 500. Just
yeah,
I mean, splitting hairs or whatever, but
it ranks.
If you hear a name and you're like, that guy sucked in 91 or he was gone, it's like, oh, it's because they were basing it off what he did last year.
Yeah, the magazine came out in October, and I'm sure the list, because magazines again were, it's not as quick to print as something instant on the internet. I'm sure they kind of went from June to June. I'm assuming, from June of 90 to June of 91. That would be my assumption around that time frame. We got 311. Start off with Fabulous Lance. 6'2", 287 years pro, formerly known as Lance Von Erich in the world-class area. Shoeless high-flying style, has competed in South Africa recently. Incredible physique and stamina. Lance Von Erich.
This is the Von Erich cousin, huh?
Mm-hmm.
That everybody was like, you're not a Von Erich. Like,
and I love it when he left, and Fritz was like, well, we just, we
lied to us.
Yeah. He essentially apologized for his own shitty promotional tactic.
But saying that the guy lied.
Yeah. Putting it on the other. Putting it on.
As a Von Erich.
Yeah, putting it on the talent. It's too bad.
You didn't know this cat wasn't related to you?
Right. It's too bad that. Too bad that Fritz didn't have genealogy.com or whatever back in 1988.
I would have been like, hey, you know how I know he's not related to us? And they're like, how? I'd be like, he doesn't look like a horse.
Shit.
All right. Actually kind of handsome. Like, he ain't one of us.
And he wasn't a bad worker. He just got, he was fine. Number 310, Soldat Ustinov. Huge Russian brawler captured the AWA Tag Team title with Boris Zukov in 1987, has resurfaced in independent organizations famous for an array of nerve holds. I haven't seen a lot of him. I don't watch a lot of AWA. I know he existed. I've seen him, but...
When somebody says that he is known for his massive array of nerve holds, that, in translation, is this guy is boring.
Yeah, pretty much. 309, Akio Sato, 6 foot, 238, 12 years pro. Veteran Japanese star has just returned to the WWF to team with Kato and Pat Tanaka in the Orient Express. Also a star in SWS, not above hurling salt into his foes' eyes. Yes. Sato, the original guy that teamed with Pat Tanaka as the Midnight Express. Yes. Good wrestler. He also returned later on to be Shinja, the manager of Hakushi.
Hakushi's manager. Which I like. Underrated gimmick.
Yes. And I also liked both. I was a fan of both iterations of the Orient Express. Like, I know that we dog on him being as it's 1994 in the ECW podcast, but I liked Bad Company as a tag team.
I did too, and it's not that okay. We dogged on them that it's 94 and it's whatever, but I don't think any of us ever dogged on the fact that they were good workers.
Right.
I mean, it was more of the angle they were in and the whatever. But yeah.
Mm-hmm. But yeah, like I said, both iterations of the Orient Express, cool in my book. Number 308, a guy who was a big deal in our stomping grounds in Toledo, Ohio, Greg Wojciechowski, the Great Wojo. 6 foot 245, 10 years pro, former amateur champion, went on to great success in the WWA, an NCAA title holder at the University of Ohio, feuded with Scott Steiner in 1986, semi-active now.
Yep, I think he's trained Scott, I think, because Scott trained in Toledo. So I think Wojo probably trained him and then worked with him, and he was I think he's still alive, but he was a gym coach or gym teacher or whatever at Whitmer. I think.
Yes, I think it was Whitmer. Yeah, but he was also. I mean, he was a. I don't. I mean, I remember because we did. It was funny the Bruiser or the WWA shows, the Bruiser shows. I think Bruiser promoted that. We would get off and on, like on Channel 56 from Detroit. It would be on our cable in Toledo, Channel 56 Fox from Detroit. They would air that show, but it was never weekly or anything. It was like it would be on one week, and then for a month or two you wouldn't see it, and then it would be on again, you know. And
Wojo is one of those guys that if like we were kids and you told some adult like, oh, I like wrestling, and they'd be like, oh yeah, Great Wojo. I know the Great Wojo.
The Great Wojo, yes.
Great Wojo. I mean, probably did, but yeah, I mean, he was kind of a local legend, and it was like Great Wojo, Tony Pacos, and MASH. And that's Toledo right there.
And Jeep.
Like,
and he
was on all the time on some channel in Toledo.
Yes.
And then he'd be like, "Oh, Jamie Farr went to this school.
He went to our school.
I know." And then he sat in that. Well, Woodward. I went to Woodward.
Yes. I couldn't remember if you went there, if you were here by high school, but anyway.
I went to Woodward.
And he is still alive because recently, well, I don't know how recently it was. I mean, it was fairly recent when I listened to it, but not too long ago, he did an interview on Dave Dynasty's podcast. So yes, he is still alive and kicking.
He's probably old as fuck.
307, Nelson Royal. Speaking of old as fuck, at this point, he was old as fuck. 5'8", 215, 36 years pro.
Good Lord.
In 1991. Veteran, is still light heavyweight champion of ACW wrestling, has also held similar titles in WCW, among the most respected grapplers of our time. Nelson Royal. I don't have a lot to say about Nelson Royal.
Don't either. not dogging him. It's a name before my time. You know what I mean?
Yeah. The next guy I watched when I watched a bunch of Continental last year on the recommendation of Chad Austin, because originally I only remembered this guy myself as a jobber for WCW. He was a really good worker. My observation is he's goofy looking though. Is Johnny Rich, 6 foot 235, 15 years pro, cousin of Tommy Rich, has forged an outstanding career in his own right. Recently returned to WCW, former Continental Wrestling Commissioner. Great drop kick. Johnny Rich is goofy looking. I mean, I don't know. He was a fine wrestler. He just, I don't know, could look kind of derpy, I guess.
Just look like a dude.
Number 305 is John Rambo. 6'2", 264 years pro. Patriotic Charlotte native, has returned to Pacific Northwest. All-out gung-ho military style, obviously. Successful in recent bouts in Japan and Europe. I don't know if I've ever seen a John Rambo match. I remember John Rambo from the magazines, like being an Otto Schwann's promotion in Germany.
I think it was like a Corporal Kushner ripoff. If I'm remembering his image, he kind of had the Corporal Kushner, obviously because he's Rambo or whatever. But it's,
right.
the gimmick's dead, buddy.
He battled Cannonball Grizzly in Germany, who was PN News.
Yeah.
304, Dragon Master, 6'2", 248, 21 years pro. Japanese veteran, is currently part of the independent scene. Formerly a member of Gary Hart's rule-breaking stable in WCW, knows karate and jiu-jitsu. Is Dragon Master Kendo Nagasaki? Or did he team with Kendo Nagasaki?
I think he teamed with it. He wasn't Kendo Nagasaki. He was also like you said, he was in that J-Tex or whatever, that weird time in WCW where like the Horsemen were faces, but they were heels. And
yeah.
With J-Tex, and it was a big clusterfuck.
It's funny because it kind of, I don't know. That was a 1990 and early 91 was a rough period for WCW creatively.
Well, he was also in the match where Doug Dillinger broke Sting. Clash of the Champions, where Ole does that fucking awesome promo about, you're not a horseman.
Yeah.
But this guy said he vouched for you. I'm telling you, you're not a horseman anymore. That's left the barn, but you can still give up the shot. You can still give up. You can still save yourself and give up the shot, because this man has compassion for you. Like, if you guys don't know what we're talking about, you need to watch it. It's fantastic. And then it starts out, it's going to be fantastic gangbusters, and then Doug Dillinger fucking hurts Sting.
303 is Mike Miller, 6'3", 265, 11 years pro. Burley, New Orleans native, recently returned to the Pacific Northwest with a difference. Shocked fans by becoming a scientific star, as powerful as anyone in PNW. I don't know.
No idea. Number
302, Bob Bradley, 6'2", 248 years pro. The Catman is best known to fans as a WWF TV wrestler, but he's much better than that. A former world-class Texas champion, strong but very quick and agile. Bob Bradley.
Sorry, I was thinking that was somebody else. You're good. Go ahead.
Number 301, Bobby Blair, 6'3", 275, 2 years pro. A bright light among an unusually strong crop of Pacific Northwest newcomers. Exceptionally strong, but hasn't forsaken Matt Skills, top contender to the PNW title. I don't know who that is.
I don't either.
A lot of Portland guys in this little chunk here.
Yeah.
300, Brad Batten. We talked about Bart Batten in the last episode. 5'10", 229, 10 years pro. He and twin Bart have been a successful duo in Texas and the World Wrestling Council. Fast as lightning, not large, but was a successful rule breaker for a while. I don't know what more we can say than we said last time.
Nope.
299, Ron Bass. 6'4", 285, 13 years pro. Maniacal Texan, competes sporadically in Florida, best known by WWF fans for his bloody feud with Brutus Beefcake in 1988, former Florida champion. I like Ron Bass, except when they turned him babyface.
Yeah, when Ron Bass is not a babyface. Like I'm watching Mid-Atlantic, and it's like, he would be much better. Like, I'd rather watch him fight Jake Roberts than team with Jake Roberts.
Yeah.
And but he wasn't bad, and like he's like they said in there, he had that feud with Beefcake that was notorious because he cut him with the spur, and
the WWF put up it looked like the X from Family Feud.
Yeah,
like when they would get a question wrong on the Family Feud, I just remember that it looks like that same X. They put that over to censor Beefcake bleeding on WWF television.
Yeah. But I mean, that was good stuff. It's hard saying that about something involving Beefcake, but it was good stuff. And Ron wasn't like, gonna give you like a 35-minute classic or whatever, but He was
And
a
I know
hand.
you.
He was a hand. You know what
I know
mean?
you don't. I know you don't like Black Bart, but I actually like Black Bart and Bass as a tag team with JJ as their manager. I thought they were good in that respect, but unfortunately, like I said, it turned into his babyface turn, which I did not like.
Yeah.
298, Mark Rocco, light heavyweight known as Rollerball.
Yeah, Rollerball Rocco
is one of Great Britain's most popular stars, has been the British junior heavyweight champion several times. You actually know more about British wrestling than I do.
Well, I mean, I don't know the history of it or anything, but like I like watching the matches and shit. And Rollerball was really good. He wasn't like the biggest guy in the world or anything like that, but a lot of British guys weren't. But he just did a strong style British type wrestling. I shouldn't say strong style, like he wrestled like a William, to put it in perspective, like a William Regal type guy.
Mm-hmm.
But he was flashy and good. I liked him. I enjoyed him.
I was going to say that, and like I said, I have to plead that I haven't seen a lot of him. I've seen some. And like you said, I'm not exactly an expert on British pro wrestling history, but it seems to me that almost, if you would say because of his popularity, not necessarily his wrestling skills, if you would say that Big Daddy was the Hulk Hogan of British wrestling, or that Mark Rocco might be what, like a Randy Savage?
Yeah.
Of British wrestling?
Yeah.
I'm just trying to put it in perspective of how, at the level of star that they were in that country.
Yeah, that might be accurate, and the style and shit like that. I enjoyed him. British wrestling, like it was weird. Like the guys were still flashy and shit, but then when the matches would happen, it would be like good solid rounds and shit. But like they were still
characters.
Like if you want to watch some crazy, like Fit Finlay was fucking awesome. Like he was awesome here too. Don't get me wrong, but over there he was fucking awesome. Like he had his like Indian manager, like his princess manager with him. She dressed like an Indian, and he'd come out and he'd have like suit like a jacket on, but then he'd have like a flamboyant hat with a big feather. It's like cool shit. Like it's worth, you guys, if you don't watch a lot of world of sports stuff, it's worth watching the matches. Like there's goofy gimmicks and.
Now, did he go? Did Finlay go by Finlay? Dave Finlay there, or did he go by Belfast Bruiser?
Oh, he was Dave Finlay.
Okay,
David Fit Finlay. And he'd come out to like disco tracks. I think I watched one where he came out to like Hot Stuff. Hat with his feather in it and shit. It's awesome.
All right. Up next, number 297, a guy I actually mentioned last week when we were talking about the names, Brian Adias. That's what it is here. 6'1", 238, 12 years pro. Former world-class star, recently returned as part of GWF, a smooth, classy competitor who rarely makes a mental mistake, even when outsized. And that's what I said last week, the mystery of, is it Brian Adias or is it Brian Adidas? Because you hear it both ways. I know it's Adias, but I just think it's funny. Like at times on the Krylon, it would even say Brian Adidas.
Yeah. Wasn't a lot of attention to detail in wrestling back then with shit like that. Like, like prime example is like, I don't remember what pay-per-view it is, but Ric Flair's coming out and they're going to spell his name with fucking lasers and they put a K on it. It's like, what the hell?
Is that, I think it's a Starcade.
Yeah, I can't remember which one it is though. But anytime I'd see like a K on Ric Flair's name, I'm like, really?
Why wasn't that person fired?
Yeah. But why didn't somebody go like earlier in the day? Because it's like you had to set that shit up. And like, he doesn't have a K on his name. Like Ric Flair isn't going to look at that. You know what I mean? Like he doesn't give a shit about the fucking laser. He's more worried about his fucking match. But like Jim Crockett isn't like, hey,
It's never been spelled with a K since like 1972.
It's never been spelled with a K ever.
296 Motor City Madman, 6'4", 320, 5 years pro. Huge Mauler was a Pauly Dangerously discovery. Began his career under the manager's guidance in the WWF. What? They must have meant WCW.
Yeah, that's not a thing.
Resurfaced in WCW in 1990, now in WWC.
So he went to Puerto Rico.
Yes. I know nothing of his career outside of that little stint in WCW, to be honest with you. He was with the Big Cat going after Lex Luger.
Yeah. Paulie found him in a pool hall. Like Paulie, if you want to put like the equivalent on it of something that you guys might know, Motor City I don't know why I just thought of this. Motor City Madman, I think, was the prototype in Paulie's mind of what he eventually did with 911.
911. Yeah. Totally makes sense. Kind of a big, thick guy with a mullet.
Yeah.
You know, the leather vest.
Yeah, like don't do much. Like Paulie's like, don't you can't work. Like suck.
You can't work, so don't try.
But let's just accentuate what you can do, and that's some big power moves, get in, get out, you know. And then he finally was able to do what he wanted with that idea and put 911 on it.
295, we discussed his brother last week, Larry Power, 6'2", 300 pounds, 5 years pro, identical twin of brother David, is a member of the Power Twins, trained by Dr. D. David Schultz and Bobby Bold Eagle. Pure brutality is his game. The Power Twins.
And funny guys.
294 is Crush, 6'6", 315, 5 years pro. Huge brawler teamed with Smash in the final edition of Demolition. Now holds the PNW tag title with Steve Dahl. Suddenly a favorite after years of mauling.
At one point, Taker's best friend. And I listened to a long time ago, like before I stopped listening to Pritchard. Conrad was talking to him, and Brian Adams always had a spot there because not just because he was like friends with Taker or whatever, but he was a guy that Vince just liked. Like, not in the fact of, I think he's the greatest wrestler in the world or ever or whatever, but like Brian Adams was just a good dude. And like, I haven't heard a lot of times where Vince is like that, you know, like, oh, he's just a nice guy.
Yeah. Well,
it's a pleasure to be around. Let's just keep finding, like, that's why they kept finding shit for him.
Yeah.
You know? It's kind of like, and it's not the same because it kind of is the same. It's like, he kind of like a Glenn Jacobs.
Yeah.
Where this is just a good dude.
He shows up for work.
Shows up to work. Everybody likes him. You know? Where the only difference he had from Glenn is that he had fucking demons, you know?
Yeah.
To where eventually Vince couldn't overlook that. But that's why he was just always around. Because Vince is like, that's a guy's he's a good citizen. Keep him in the show. Like, keep him in the locker room. Everybody fucking likes him. Does whatever he asks him to do. Just a nice guy.
Well, and you mentioned his demons. Vince liked him so much. Vince even hired him and then used his demons as part of his gimmick.
Yeah.
This man, he didn't say what, but, this man was arrested in Hawaii. He didn't say he was arrested in Hawaii for having a bunch of coke in his house. Yeah, but he, they worked it into a gimmick for him.
Yeah.
So.
Everything I've ever heard about Brian Adams was that he was just a good-natured dude. Just essentially just a happy Hawaiian guy that just everybody liked having around. Like, hey man, brother, what's up?
Yeah, that's another thing I was gonna say is I don't know if it was Barry. It might have been Barry Darsow on one of the Demolition shoot interviews said that's why they gave him the Kona Crush gimmick, because the Kona Crush gimmick was the closest to his actual personality. Yeah. Like, shaka, brother, how you doing, man? It's good to see you, everybody. I got to see the fans tonight, brother. Just kind of that was the closest thing to his actual personality. And And this isn't a part of the discussion for 1991, but initially I actually dug his heel turn against Savage. That was a great angle.
Yeah.
And a great feud.
The blow off sucked.
Mm-hmm.
But like
But
that should have just been a fucking Falls Count Anywhere match.
Yeah, because that finish fell so flat.
Yeah, but just a good. And there's another thing too, like if Randy Savage loved the guy too, you know what I mean? So you're in a locker room, you're in the WWF locker room, all right, and the Undertaker and Randy Savage are like this guy's
aces. Yeah,
aces. If those two dudes vouch for you, you're fucking gold. It's like Savage was. This is gonna sound. I don't know if this is gonna sound smart or dumb or whatever. And I obviously wasn't in the locker room, but I'm assuming Savage was the taker of the locker room before he left.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I mean? And then when Savage left, all right, now it's take now.
Yeah.
So if both of those guys are vouching for you, and Vince is like, good dude.
Yeah. Well, that's what I was gonna say. He had that Greg Helms thing. You know, like in 2002, 2003, 2004, Gregory Helms was all over WWE because The Rock liked him, Hunter liked him, you know, Shawn Michaels liked him. Everybody that was ever going to be around Vince and Vince liked him. You know, he got to be there. And he got to be on TV. They always worked him. They always figured him in.
And the only reason he left, from what I know, is he's one of the guys. He's one of the two guys. It was Rude and Adams that were just they didn't like the screw job, and they said, "Fuck, I'm out."
Mm-hmm.
They're gonna if they can do it to Brett, they can do it to me,
right?
And I don't need it because they told those guys, anybody wants to fucking leave,
you can leave.
You can leave.
Number 293 is El Santo, not the old one. 5'6", 199 years pro. Son of the legendary Mexican grappler El Santo. The original El Santo was so popular that a shrine was erected around his gravesite, which Mexicans still visit. So obviously his son wasn't that good, seeing as the description of his son was pretty much about his father.
Yeah, and by the time he got to WCW, they made him take his mask off and go by his real name,
Larry Santo.
Larry Santo.
Number 292 is Killer, 6 foot, 255, 6 years pro. Forms a solid unit with fellow masked man Psycho.
Gross.
As vastly underrated Texas Hangman tag team. Brutal Duo has captured the WWC and USWA tag championships in the last year. So we talked about them.
Killer's DMs are legendary.
Number 291 is Yoshihiro Asai, 5'8", 175, 2 years pro. Best of the new breed of flying Japanese stars. Comes up with maneuvers beyond description. Perhaps the most graceful grappler to hit the scene in years. I don't know who this is.
I don't either.
Number 290, one of Aaron's favorites. I don't know if is he in the Hall of Shame? You'll have to tell me. I don't remember. 290, Van Hammer.
He's not yet.
Might be this year, though. 6'8", 320, 1 year pro. Yet another mountain of a man invades the sport. Build and style very similar to Sid Justice. Began in Georgia, but has been negotiating with WCW for a debut there. So he has not yet hit WCW.
He is not. And he's also a fucking scumbag. We'll just, if you don't mind, I'll just read his shit here. All right.
Yeah.
On January 26th, 2020, Van Hammer was arrested in Palm Beach County, Florida, and charged with a DUI and first-degree felony hit and run. Van Hammer, which they're calling him Headrest, but Van Hammer was reported to be driving at 58 miles an hour in a 35 zone when he hit a 5-year-old child who was riding his bike. The child reportedly flew onto the hood of Van Hammer's car and suffered internal injuries, but ultimately survived. On May 2020, Van Hammer pleaded guilty to both charges and resulted in a sentence of 1 year. This is bullshit. He got 1 year of probation and 1 year of driver's license. Like basically, they took his license away for a year and gave him 1 year of probation. He had a fucking kid on his bike, and they were just like,
a year of
1
probation.
year probation. You can't drive for a year. It's like, are you fucking kidding me?
Yeah, shitty human, shitty wrestler, Van Hammer.
Yeah.
Number 289, another guy with the, here we go, back to the guys with the mystery name things. Wahoo McDaniel, or is it Wahoo McDaniels?
Daniel.
Yes, I know. 5'11", 280, 30 years pro. Native American Indian star announced his retirement in 89, but has recently competed in SAPW and the revived AWA, famous for tomahawk chops, former U.S. champ. What can you say? Wahoo, one of the most badass wrestlers of all time.
Yeah, I don't fucking remember how many miles he ran because they said he couldn't do it for a fucking 12-pack. I think it was like 35 miles or some shit. Like, Flair says that is the baddest ass son of a bitch that's ever fucking walked the earth. Like he puts him over, and it's no disrespect, but he puts him over Harley on fucking toughness. Like, just badassery. And, like he was like, he didn't take shit from wives. Like if a wife gave him shit, he was like, "Fuck off out of here." Like I don't need like one argument. He's just like, "Fuck off. We're getting a divorce." And one of my favorite stories that Ric Flair ever told was Wahoo was apparently they were in wherever he retired to and lived or whatever. WCW did a show there, and Wahoo wanted to take his grandson to the show, but he's fucking Wahoo McDaniel, so he figured, I'm just going to show up, meet the boys, shake hands, and he wanted to take his grandson to like meet all the fucking wrestlers, you know? Like he's like, I'm probably like, I've been telling my grandkids about me being a wrestler for all these years, and fucking WCW showing up, you know? And he tried to walk in, and like some security guy was giving him shit, like this entrance is only for the wrestlers, and the guy had no idea who Wahoo McDaniel was. And Flair said it was just happenstance that he was walking by and like heard Wahoo kind of not being disrespectful, but giving the guy kind of the business of like
you know who the fuck I am?
Well, he said Wahoo wasn't even trying to do that because his grandkid was there, you know. He was trying to explain to him who he was, and Flair said he just happened to walk by and was like, he told that security guy, he's like, "Hey, all due respect, buddy, this is Wahoo McDaniel. You're gonna go ahead and let him in." Like, by the end of it, like his grandkid wound up with like a fucking ton of t-shirts and pictures and autographs and shit. Flair's like, I'd hate to know what happened if I hadn't walked by at that moment. Like, he was basically like, Wahoo was being cool with the guy, but he was like, I think if it would have went a little bit longer,
yeah, to a point.
Yeah. And it's just one of my favorites, like wrestling backstage stories I ever heard. Flair walked by right at that moment, was like, this guy's fucking giving Bobby the business. He's like that security guy has no idea how much
oh shit. Give me just a minute, I gotta piss.
All right.
You know that you're famous? Yeah. Why you think you're famous? Because I have a lot of videos. because you got a lot of videos. That's pretty nice. The guy that was taking the video, is that your dad? Yeah. Do you love him? Yeah. Why would I not love him? So you have a really nice father and you love him. Not a problem with dad. There is a direct, distinct difference. Anybody can be a father. It takes a special man to be a dad. Do you know that the money don't jiggle jiggle? For sure. You know, riding in my beer. You really have to see it.
How you doing? Was there an issue?
Hey, you guys have IDs on you?
No. Why?
Okay. Because they want you trespassed.
They want us trespass?
Yes, sir.
But I was just illegally filming.
We're illegally filming?
Yeah.
Illegally filming.
Yeah, like the cinema.
Illegally filming.
ILLEGX.
Illegally. That means you can't do it. You just admitted that you can't do it.
Well, if I get permission from boss.
Who's boss?
David.
David.
Spencer's.
Spencer.
That's my boss. I work
That's
for.
your boss?
Yeah, I work for
Okay.
123 Movies.
It's a good address for you.
That I do not know. I'm not from here.
Where do you live?
Everywhere.
Are you homeless?
Yeah,
Okay. You know your height and weight?
that's kind of personal.
How is that personal?
I kind of
It's
get
just
offended by that.
He's like 5'10".
5'11". Add a little inch. Girls like tall kings, right?
I guess so.
No, we were trying to just illegally film, but they wasn't allowing it.
I don't think you understand your term that you're saying. You said that you're trying to illegally film.
Yeah.
That's a crime then. You mean
What's-
legally?
How you doing?
No. I have a girl part. Girls have different parts than boys.
Oh.
Yeah.
What not to do when you see a tornado?
Wait. I am a child. Yours.
I don't recall that we ever had.
You're my buddy at the rock.
All right. What?
I don't typically like post things that I don't create on Facebook. You know what I mean? Like you know, like people like find some joke somebody else made or whatever or something, and they'll just be like me.
Yeah.
Like, no, it's not you. But this somebody shared this thing, but this Chance Peterson guy was like, I just deleted everyone I wouldn't fist fight in the KFC parking lot. So if you're reading this, don't let me catch you in the KFC parking lot. I don't know why that's so funny to me.
It is funny though. All right. Number 288, Rufus R. Jones.
Good Lord.
6'2", 244, 27 years pro. Veteran, has competed all over the world. Brother is former Canadian champ Ricky Johnson, Soul Man, among the first to blend strengths and aerial skills. I'm not a fan of Rufus R. Jones, but promo-wise, I can see why he was over.
Yeah. I think I don't want to speak wrong. Yeah, he had do you know who his kid was?
Slick?
Yep.
Yep.
I'm not sure. I couldn't remember if it was like he was if he was his actual son or if he was an adopted child. I think it was his actual son, but yeah. Slick is the son of Rufus R. Jones.
Slick Jones. Also the father of Grace. I'm just kidding. But there we go. Number 287, Corporal Kirshner.
Hey.
6'1", 267 years pro, entered the WWF in 1984 with great fanfare, but fell out of league within 2 years. Former member of the U.S. Army Airborne Division, recently entered the UWF for the first time.
Bad
Oh,
attitude.
Oh, Corporal Kirshner.
From everything I ever heard, just he was a guy that if he didn't like what was going on, he just said "fuck it" and would bounce.
Sergeant Slaughter's replacement. They tried to replace Sergeant Slaughter.
Yeah.
Well, everybody, I have a surprise for Aaron, and a pleasant surprise probably for our listeners to join us here in the We Can't Wrestle podcast. It's Kyle Army.
What?
How,
Oh fuck!
how is everything?
You can't disappear for 7.5 years
When I do,
and then just be like, "Hey, I'm back."
I'm gonna sell out the fucking Allstate Arena when I do, though.
Kyle's back. Tell a friend. Welcome back, Mr. Army.
Oh, how are we doing, guys?
We are, I don't know if you have been keeping up, but we are actually currently going through, we've done like 3 episodes already. We're doing 90 minutes a week, and we're going through the first Pro Wrestling Illustrated 500.
Oh, and like 8 more podcasts have ballooned out of this, and fucking people died and got married and everything.
Awesome. I've been super fucking busy lately. We can still cuss, right?
Fuck yes.
Okay, cool. I'm super fucking busy.
How long does it take to paint a fence?
No,
Like,
Kyle, while you were gone, we didn't get woke. Don't worry, you can still cuss here.
super busy is like, I had to take a couple shows off.
Yeah, like I said, I kind of went through that whole midlife crisis, trying to find out the fuck I'm gonna do with my life, because I don't want to fucking stay in a factory for the rest of my life. So
It only took you 7.5 years to figure it out.
No, it's nice to have you back.
guys, it's nice to be back. Yeah. So where are we at in the PW 500?
We're about to do 286.
286.
Rocky Johnson.
Really?
6'2", 244, 27 years pro. Veteran, has competed all over the world. Brother is former Canadian champ Ricky Johnson. Soul Man, among the first to blend strength and aerial skills.
I don't think Ricky Johnson's a real brother. I mean, he's a brother. But he's not actually Rocky Johnson.
He's not The Rock's uncle. Let's put it that way.
No, yeah, because it's only like one family. Samoan.
The Soul Man, though, very charismatic, very over in Georgia and the WWF back in the day.
It surprises me he's that high or that low on the list, or high on the list.
But in 91, he wasn't really that active.
Yeah, I guess that's the case. I guess there's there's certain guys, and he's one of them, and like Junkyard Dog's another one that, like, no matter what anybody else does through the history of professional wrestling, Ronson is another one. Like, I mean, these guys helped change the world. I mean, you're talking about the South in wrestling.
Mm-hmm.
I can't think of a better fucking racist, group.
Right.
And people are like, you know what? I don't like black people, but I like that Junkyard Dog.
It's like Bobo Brazil.
Yeah.
You know? 20 years in the business, and it's Hobo Brazier.
Hobo Brazier. It's a fucking great story. Johnson was a really good wrestler, really good worker, charismatic, everything. Always kind of heard he wasn't like the greatest human being in the world, but can't deny his wrestling. And he probably would have had a different career if him and Tony Atlas got along. Because that was the problem when they put the belts on him, that Tony and Rocky did not did not dig each other.
Is there anybody that gets along with Tony Atlas?
Chad Austin.
Does he?
Mhm.
Everything I've ever seen about Tony Atlas, people are like, fucking dude is like, he'll show you the video of a woman stepping on his head in high heels.
Yeah, just a weird dude. Just a weird dude.
Teddy Long likes him.
Although, you ever watched that WWE Legends House?
I
Yeah.
did.
Dude, fucking Tony Atlas, he gets so fucking pissed. But y'all kiss Tony my fucking ass.
They the Legends House thing, they did the big reveal at the end where everybody's gonna go around the table and tell their secret, you know, like something nobody knew about anybody, or what, something nobody knew about them personally, you know what I mean?
Mhm.
And Pat Patterson's was that he was gay. Like, he came out, you know. It's like, everybody knows you're gay, but it was the first time he publicly, you know, stated it.
Yeah, I guess it's just not.
And I watched it, and I was like, and then Jimmy Hart, his story was tragic. He talked about how he lost a daughter or whatever in Desert Storm. Okay. And when I was done watching Legends House, I wasn't trying to, like, my biggest shock wasn't that Pat Patterson was gay. It was that Jimmy Hart wasn't.
Somebody slept with that man.
Number 285 is Invader 1. 5'10", 227, 22 years pro. Formerly known as Jose Gonzalez, competed in the WWF during the early part of his career, but went on to vast success in the WWC, famous for his silver mask and something else too.
You know, it's funny. I always love, like, Villain 1 and, you know, Crusher 2 and Villano 5. It's like, you know, as soon as you fucking, like, you're going to be Villano 4. But, like, fuck. Fuck.
Yeah, well, Invader 1 is a piece of shit.
He is the man that killed Bruiser Brody.
Oh, yeah. Fuck him.
Yeah. 284 is Mike Graham, 5'8", 232, 15 years pro. Former NWA light heavyweight champion, has returned to WCW. A former Florida champion, father was the legendary Eddie Graham, purely scientific. Mike Graham, good wrestler. Just, I think he suffered from a lack of personality.
I think Mike,
And he was like 4 foot tall. But
and Mike,
Yeah.
one of those guys, like, every time I've ever seen him in an interview, I'm like, this dude's full of shit.
Oh, he's full of his own shit. He sat down and was like, told Eric Bischoff that he said, oh, like, everything that Bischoff did, and I know a lot of Bischoff's kind of a polarizing character, but he basically said that everything that Bischoff did was stuff that he told him. He's like, oh, you got to reduce the amount of clashes we have and have more pay-per-views and reduce this, and no, you got to do that, you got to do that. Like, he said he was like the puppet master of Eric Bischoff. It's like, I doubt it.
yeah, not so much.
Yeah. And
Eric's podcast, he fucking flat out tells you, like, because he's like, oh, I'll get he told, like, Hulk Hogan, like, I'll get you a meeting with Ted. And Eric Bischoff's like, fucking Ted Turner wanted to fucking make fucking Graham. Like, what the fuck?
He'd be like, who the hell is this guy coming in my office?
who this little fella? Who this little permed fella?
Yeah.
With a pono mustache.
Look at him.
Look at him.
Number 283, Mike George, 6'2", 265, 23 years pro, rugged timekeeper, competes mainly in Kansas City area, a former WWA champion, one of the top point compilers in the 1989 AWA Team Challenge Series. I don't know jack shit about Mike George.
He's got 2 first names. Fuck him.
Speaking of the AWA, 282, Greg Gagne, 6'1", 220, 18 years pro, son of the legendary Vern Gagne, has come out of retirement to compete on recent cards, best known as a member of the High Flyers with Jim Brunzell, a credit to his profession. Greg Gagne was fine as a tag team wrestler.
Yep. And I said another little fella or whatever, but he's also a guy that, like, he seems like a good dude. You know what I mean? Like, I don't know. Like I think like sometimes you hear about like second generation wrestlers kind of like being full of their own shit or whatever. I don't get that from Greg Gagne.
He also got hoodwinked by the WWE.
Yeah.
Oh, they fucked him. They fucked him.
Yes, they did. They were like, "Sell us everything, bargain
We'll
basement
give you a
prices."
job. We'll let you run our developmental. And then like they once the fucking ink was dry, they were like, "Oh, we gotta let you go." And to me, it's like
I picture the scene in Star Wars where they're they're on Calrissian's planet, and they go in the dining area with Vader, and Vader just keeps saying to Lando Calrissian, pray I don't change the deal further. Like the deal just keeps changing as time goes on.
it was like the final fuck you from Vince McMahon to the AWA and the Gagne family, because they were the ones that were like, "Fuck you, Vince, we're not gonna do it." And Vince was finally like, "All right, I'm gonna fuck these guys. I'm gonna fuck Gagne with his pants on." It's
But wasn't it like Greg and Vern kind of came after the WWF with the whole Hulkamania thing?
Hulkamania started in the AWA.
yeah,
Right.
they like Hogan
Right.
started it there, and they tried to fuck Hogan. Like they were selling his shit when he was in Japan, and he didn't even know it.
I wonder if that's of it, where like Vince is like, "Aha, I got you now, pal. I'm gonna show you."
Vince and Vern just did not. The McMahons and the Gagne family did not get along.
Mhm.
Like a lot of those guys that Vince bought out or put out of business, like he respected them. You know what I mean? But he did not, for some reason. Vince McMahon and Vern Gagne just he didn't put the Crockett's out. You know, well, I mean, he did, but the Crockett's didn't sell.
No,
But it still talks in great regard of like Big Jim Crockett and Jim Crockett Jr. and all that. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
But that fucking Vern Gagne shit, that was like Macho Man. He like he owned that shit. Like I'm never going to.
it's
You get what I'm saying? Like I won't give that up. And then he hoodwinked him. He took a senile old man. I was like, let's put him up on the stage. Told his kid, we'll take care of it. You'll be good. You'll have a job. Got all this shit, and then said, fuck off out of here.
but I don't know. I guess when you look at all the previous like former owners, like anybody that was like owner and stuff, they either made it in the WWF or Vince fucking just kicked them out. And 9 times out of 10, it's like it's the people that treated people like shit. Like you look at he ran Louisiana, and he
Bill Watts.
Like Bill Watts, from everything anybody's ever said, the man asshole. And I don't mean to go off on a tangent. I happened to watch the Kevin Nash shoot where he was talking about how Watts treated him like shit in WCW, and when he came to WWF, he was telling a story about how him and Yoko, like they were in a cage and they spent 45 minutes putting this fucking cage up. And he's like, "We're walking out," and Bill Watts is like, "Fuck, go tear it down." He's like, "All right, guys." They go out there, they fucking go 15 seconds. And they come back, and fucking Watts is like, "What the fuck was that?" He's like, "Oh yeah, by the way, here, I'm on the food chain. You're fucking down here, so fuck." And like that's the way. Like if Vince is friends with people, and he knows they get treated like shit, he's going to,
Yeah.
Well, did you ever hear why Gagne got fired from WCW?
No, why?
He was he was working for WCW as like an agent and booker and all that or whatever, like assistant booker, agent or whatever, but was like trying to like start a side hustle with like his own promotion. And Bischoff found out about it and then fucking shit can him, and he couldn't figure out. He's Bischoff was like Vern or Greg couldn't figure out why I was firing him and why I was mad about it. Like, really? You can't figure out why I'm mad? Like, you're working for us, but you're trying to start your own promotion.
Yeah.
And he said, Gani was like, I don't see what the problem is. And Bischoff was like, obviously you do, because you wouldn't have hit it.
Right.
You would have came up and said, hey, Eric, I'm working for you, but I'd like to have my own little side promotion here. You got a problem with that? He's like, you obviously fucking knew that we were going to have a problem with that, or you would have fucking hit it.
Why? Yeah.
Number 281 here is Dory Funk Jr., 6'2", 240, 27 years pro. Veteran was recently named IWCCW commissioner. Despite new role, continues to compete. One of the greatest NWA world champions, brother of Terry Funk.
You know, Dory Funk,
Lemonhead,
guys, that he's in the shadow of Terry, but like as much as like everyone's like, oh, Terry, he's middle-aged and crazy. Like Dory Funk Jr. is actually fucking crazy. Like that dude's nuts.
And he's also like, well, we've talked about on Reliving the Extreme a lot. Because we beat up Dory Funk was a great wrestler. Don't get me wrong, in the 1960s and the 1970s, but by 1994 in the ECW, he's just lumbering out there, kind of wandering around, you know, letting Terry and everybody else around him do all the work. And it was the name, you know, it was essentially, he was just the name, Dory Funk Jr. by that point.
Well, Terry taking care of him, you know.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, fuck. I guess I don't have a problem with that because Brutus the fucking Barber Beefcake has been anywhere and everywhere that fucking Hulk Hogan's ever been, and so has
Brian Knobbs. Yeah.
So, you know, I don't, you know. Same thing with Triple H and X-Pac.
I just think Dory Funk was boring. Like, even by 70 standards, he was fucking boring. Same goddamn face. Like he had like no facial expressions, or you know what I mean? Like, I understand, oh, he's a great wrestler, yeah, but Dory Funk is boring. He is a boring human being. And I bet he's even boring in real life. like I would think that speaking to Dory Funk would be the equivalent of like when Gene Hackman in the Birdcage is talking about the foliage as they were doing
the foliage in Ohio. It's magnificent.
The browns and the oranges.
The orange.
And
then he pauses. It's great because he's like the browns, the oranges, and everybody's looking at him, and he's like, the yellows. What a fantastic movie that is, man.
Yeah, but that would be the equivalent of like sitting down with Dory and be like, tell me about your career. It was great.
Wrestling in St. Louis.
The headlocks, the forearms,
the takeovers.
It's like, you were a boring fucking
The 3-minute rest hold.
Yeah, the 3-minute rest holds. Yeah. Edward Compartier.
Yeah. Like, you're dozing off. Like, you're the elder. You should be dozing off.
Number 280. One of the best surprises of 2022 is getting to meet this man, Aaron. Chick Donovan. 6 foot, 245, 11 years pro, muscular fan favorite, has competed in Georgia for the past 4 years, also in world class for a long stretch. Uses power well, rarely makes tactical errors.
Yeah. Kyle, Nate, and I went to Fort Wayne. We went to a fucking Heroes and Legends convention in April. It was April, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. And we just get there, you know, and there's this older tan man with a big blonde bouffant, and it was fantastic. Sparkly gold jacket. I looked at Nate and I was like, I think that's fucking Chick Donovan. And Nate was like, that ain't Chick Donovan. I was like, it's Chick Donovan. Like, he wasn't on the roster. Like, he wasn't a name. They said Chick Donovan's gonna be here. And then I was like, it's fucking Chick Donovan. It was fucking fantastic. And his handlers were all these smooth black men in pimp outfits.
Yes, it was like a herd of Teddy Longs.
It was like, it's like he's being surrounded by the kings of comedy. Like, that's the suits they were wearing. It was like fantastic.
His handlers.
Yeah, they were fucking. It was just smooth, like Detroit black dudes and Chick Donovan.
Old chick doesn't know where he's at. We make sure he's there.
Oh, and like after I saw that, I was like, man, Chick Donovan has a sassy black wife. I know he does. He's like got a foxy brown wife. Chick Donovan was the shit.
And it was very cool to meet him.
Yeah.
Get our picture made with him, get an autograph.
That is, you know, in all honesty, and I know I'm joking about it, but like the name Chick Donovan, like that is such a cool fucking wrestling name.
What'd you say he said about Bill Watts? Because we were just talking about Bill Watts.
Oh shit.
Didn't he say he was like a fucking prick or something like that?
Yeah, oh yeah, because I said I was just watching you, because I was literally like 2 nights before that. I was just watching you on I was just watching a show you were on. No, it wasn't Bill Watts, Aaron. It was Fritz von Erich.
Oh yeah.
I said I was just watching a show you were on a couple nights ago, and he goes, "Oh yeah, what was it?" I said it was a world class show. He goes, Fritz von Erich, real motherfucker. I was like, oh yeah. He's like, yeah, I didn't like Fritz, not at all.
Son comes out on his fucking Hall of Fame acceptance speech, and he's like, I know my dad loved me. Not fucking a good sign. Didn't love you.
279 here in the 500. Chris Champion. 6'1", 222, 7 years pro. Former Wild Side member, is wild indeed. Teamed with Mark Starr to win the CWA tag title in 1989. The New Breed with Todd Champion is making its mark in the late 80s.
And Yoshi Kwan. Did he become Yoshi Kwan?
Yes, he did.
Yeah. The New Breed was actually fucking cool in the NWA. Like they had that fucking robot, and like
it was out of place, but it was weird and cool.
Like I always thought, because I think that stopped because Chris Champion got in an accident. I think he got in a fucking car accident or whatever, fucked himself up. But I always thought that if McMahon would have got a hold of that New Breed shit, it probably would have been a bigger thing. I think they were out of place in the NWA because they were like doing the robot gimmick, and Future and all that shit. But yeah, he was decent, and he was kind of like an out of the box type wrestler.
I don't know. I don't know if Vince would have or not done anything good with it, because if you look at like Men on a Mission, like Vince. I love everything that he does, but like the man is like 5-6 years behind the times. Always.
Yeah, this would have been in the 80s, and he wasn't like that back then. Like he was on the ball then. I just think they would have.
Yeah, that is true.
They would have done something with him. I think. I'm not saying they would have ever been like the fucking tag champs or whatever, but I think that New Breed gimmick would have been different if it would have been under the tutelage of Vince McMahon and Pat Patterson.
Yeah, because of the rock and wrestling connection and everything. Like,
yeah.
I see where you're going, yeah.
278, Scott Casey. 6 foot 242, 19 years pro, former world-class standout competing independently. Gave a fine accounting of himself in a 2-year stint with the WWF, proponent of the Bulldog headlock and a fine finisher. Scott Casey,
cowboy wrestler.
Yeah, I mean he was fine. You know, I've never watched a Scott Casey match and been like, well, this guy fucking sucked. But I've never watched a Scott Casey match and been like, yeah, this guy should have been a bigger deal than he was.
I wish they would do something in the Hall of Fame for for those talents that it's like, yeah, like he never really fucking made it like big like Hulk Hogan, but like if it wasn't for this guy, like nobody would have looked good.
It's the Carpenter Award, the Good Hand Award.
Let's go ahead and bring our Horowitz winner out here.
This year's inductee, Val Venus. And this year's inductee, D'Lo Brown.
Yeah, you get the Horowitz.
Oh, I definitely thought D'Lo would go in before Val. Damn it.
The trophy you get, it looks like a dreidel.
You get to pat yourself on the back when you win, though.
Give yourself a pat on the back. Give yourself a pat on the back, Bob Holly.
It has the numbers 1 through 4 on it, and they got to spin it, and wherever it lands, that's their payout.
Sorry, buddy, you get $1,000.
I was really pulling for that 4 guy.
You tried, pal. Turns out you're not as good a hand as you said you were. Number 277, T.C. Carter, 6'1", 232, 7 years pro. Polynesian stars competing in the U.S. more often. Wrestled Wild Bill Irwin at Starrcade 90 for WCW. Colorful ring attire makes him a favorite. I have no comments on T.C. Carter.
Yeah. The highlight of your career is you fought Bill Irwin at a Starrcade.
Aaron and I will never part ways. It's weird. We will never part ways more in wrestling than we do on Bill Irwin. It's so crazy to me how, like, of all the things you could discuss in wrestling, we are totally opposite on Bill Irwin. I love Bill Irwin, and Aaron does not.
Fucking Squid Billy motherfucker. I did buy a Goon action figure, though.
I love Bill Irwin, man. 276, Leo Burke, 6'1", 242, 11 years pro. New Brunswick native, is among Great White North's busiest stars. Former Canadian champion, well-schooled, but uses foul tactics at times. Brave as they come. I know nothing. I have no comment.
I like how they're doing, where there's like an era of, I don't want to say kayfabe because I'm not in the fucking industry, but there's still a level of realism in it, where they're like, oh, this, he's got a great upside, but he likes to use dirty tactics. Like, I like that. That's fucking cool. Like,
oh yeah, I absolutely missed that shit, man.
Like, I'm getting to the point where I hate watching wrestling because so much, backstage, and it's like I want to fucking suspend my. I don't care what's going on back there. I want a good story up front here.
Mm-hmm.
Like, I don't want to get off on a tangent, but it's like the NJF thing. Like, don't get me wrong, it's a great promo.
It was fantastic. It's the best promo of the past decade.
But where are we going? Are we going again? Are we doing NJF versus Tony Khan? Because I don't want to fucking see that.
I don't want to see Tony Khan.
You know what I'm saying? Like,
mm-hmm.
Great promo, but it's like
Tony Khan looks like he would hang out with my son. He's got the big poofy hair and
like a llama,
kind of skitzed out. He's just, I don't know. He's
yeah, it's like, it's sad that wrestling has gotten to the point where like that has to be the storyline to get people interested in it. It used to be that like, hey, I'm coming for that fucking title, and people are like, fuck, I'm sitting down my.
Tony Khan's an Indian alpaca.
Number 275, Gama Singh, 5'11", 227 years pro, veteran competitor from Pakistan, is still going strong, the spiritual leader of the rule-breaking organization known as Karachi Vice in the Stampede area. I cannot, with any good intelligence, speak on Gama Singh.
I have no idea.
I'm assuming that Bastion Booger got Muckam Singh from Gama Singh. But anyway. 274, Luke Williams. 6'1", 244, 27 years pro. Grizzled veteran, teams with Butch Miller as the comical Bushwhackers in the WWF. UWF Tag Champs in 87.
And one of my favorite fucking tag teams of all time.
Yep, dude. When I was watching,
Any incarnation of those guys, and Kyle, I didn't mean to cut you off, but one of the things that like pisses me off the most is that the Bushwhacker gimmick, people shit on it, okay? And they say, "Oh man, they were so much better when they were the sheep herders." And because I don't know, do you know a lot about the sheep herders?
oh god, yeah.
Yeah, like they did the blood and guts thing, and they were hardcore before hardcore, and then they got to the WWF and they made them cartoons. Okay, well, they were old when they got there.
Yep.
And what Vince McMahon did was take these two guys that were old when they got there and said, "Hey, all that blood and guts shit that you did, you don't have to do that anymore."
Right.
And you're gonna make more money than you ever made
In your
before
entire
you got in your entire career before you even got here. And fucking wrestling fans, and I'm a wrestling fan, but wrestling fans are always just like, "Oh man, they fucking ruined the sheep herders. They fucking ruined them." It's like, okay, well, when Luke and Butch would go to like autograph sessions and shit, it wasn't like, "Oh, come and meet the sheep herders." They were like, "Come and meet the bushwhackers," because that's where we made our fucking money.
You know, the first Hasbro action figures I ever got wasn't Hulk Hogan, wasn't Macho Man, it was the fucking Bushwhackers.
And Vince added fucking 10 years to those guys' careers by saying, "You don't have to do that shit anymore.
No, well,
Just lick children and fucking bushwhack and have fun."
that's the thing about Vince that I do that nobody can is like Dusty Rhodes, perfect example. Everyone's like, all the polka dots were a fucking joke. It was trying to make fun of Dusty. You know who else used fucking polka dots in the 80s? Randy Rhodes with Ozzy Osbourne. Like, say what you want to say. Like, Vince knows how to fucking get people over without them having to kill themselves.
Yep. And when you go see Bill Eadie and Barry Darso at a wrestling convention, are they the Masked Superstar and Crusher Khrushchev?
Right.
They're Demolition. That's what they are.
But what they do that's cool is
As you can get, yes.
they bring all their gimmicks with them.
Yes, they do.
And
You're right.
whatever gimmick you want to pose with, we'll pose with.
Yeah, Darso's like, "I'll be the fucking Repo Man tonight.
I don't give a shit.
I got a little fucking Hamburglar mask right here.
Yeah,
I'll put it on."
Bill Eadie brought his superstar mask with him and shit. But yeah, it's like that's a bone of contention for me when people are like, "Ugh, they ruined the Bushwhackers." It's like, no, Vince took two guys that literally gave their blood, sweat, and tears for the business and added 10 fucking years to their career. They made them more money than they ever had in their entire time before they got there.
Think about this. Roddy Piper smashed a fucking beer bottle on his fucking forehead, try to get his shit with the sheep herders over, and it didn't sell anything really. And then he goes up to Vince. Vince is like, yeah, so you're not going to do that here. We're gonna put you out there and let you fucking talk.
Right.
That's what's going to sell tickets, because it doesn't really matter. It's like WrestleMania 3. Again, I'm getting off on a tangent, but it's been a while. But it doesn't matter what the fuck the match was between Hogan and Andre. You already bought it.
Yeah.
Who gives a shit if it's 5 stars or not? Like,
And you know what? I'll be honest. When I watched WrestleMania 3, I fast forward through the middle of that match, but I still watched the fucking beginning and I still watched the finish.
Yep.
You know, because that's what it was about.
Yep.
Number 273 in this PWI 500 is Ron Harris. 6'5", 270, 7 years pro. Big brawler, teams with his brother Don as the Bruise Brothers. Formerly competed in the CWA. Style makes fans recall the heyday of Robert and Ron Fuller.
those were two guys that I wish would have gotten a bigger break. Ron and Don Harris were always you see their influence in so much because it's the twin magic. And like they were the guys that kind of introduced that to everybody.
And they were obviously influenced by Bruiser Brody.
Yeah.
And I think the best incarnation of that team was when they were in Smoky Mountain.
Oh yeah, but I also don't understand why they compare them to the Fullers. It's like that's weird. I know they're tall,
right?
It's like I've never been like, oh man, Ron and Don remind me of Robert Fuller at all.
Number 272, Jackie Fulton. 5'11", 225, 3 years pro, younger brother of Fantastic Bobby Fulton, a bit taller and heavier than his brother, therefore just a bit stronger as well, still developing. I really, really, really like Bobby Fulton. Not so much a fan of Jackie.
Yeah, he was decent, but he wasn't. That was obviously the weaker incarnation of the Fantastics. But you take Tommy Rogers out of anything, it's going to be the weaker or whatever.
Right. Yeah, for sure.
Fucking Tommy Rogers was the fucking shit, man. That dude was the fucking bee's knees. I know we're not talking about him, but like I'm looking forward to like when we get to fucking ECW like 97 when Tommy Rogers showed up for a little bit. I was like, yeah, I'm amped up that shit.
Number 271, Buddy Rose.
Playboy.
6 foot, 312, 18 years pro. You can probably add 50 pounds to that weight listing. The Playboy literally ate himself out of main event status, teamed with Doug Summers to win the AWA tag title in 1987. So let me share my Buddy Rose perspective. Excuse me, with my burp. I have not, as much as I pride myself on watching a lot of old wrestling, the one promotion I have not watched a lot of that I should is Portland. I've watched a considerable amount of Buddy in Portland, and it's great. And the other thing I will tell you people is I always admit on the show that I have not in my lifetime watched a lot of the AWA. But the most of the AWA that I've watched is Doug Summers and Buddy Rose. And they were a fantastic tag team. With Sherry, that was such a good act.
They were, and think about this. I really and truly believe that Sean and Marty, like the Rockers, they weren't like that was their finishing school. Was
yes,
Doug and Buddy Rose, like Jesus. I mean, you think about like you have this young team and they're working with these guys. Like, who better to be the Playboy that Shawn Michaels would be than from Buddy Rose? I mean,
well, no, and literally my memories, if I go back, because I'm 43 years old, and if I go back through my wrestling memories, like my wrestling memory Rolodex, my most vivid memories of the AWA are watching Rose and Summers against the Midnight Rockers at the Showboat in Vegas.
Yeah, the bloodbath.
Yes, that's my, and I know, somebody that's an AWA historian or whatever will tell me Bockwinkel or whatever, and Bockwinkel was fantastic. I'm not saying he wasn't, but my memory of the AWA, my biggest memory is that match, those matches between those two teams.
Well, think about it. You had great tag team wrestling in the South. That's always been their biggest thing.
Well, but we're talking about Minnesota.
Well, now, to me, Minnesota is still kind of. Look, I'm just saying, you're fucking goddamn nowhere. I don't want
It's so nice to have you back.
That's your Uvi moment.
You know what I'm saying?
Yes, I know what you're saying. Territorial wrestling
was tag team wrestling.
Yes,
that's that. I mean, you had the greatest teams that you would have ever seen. Or when they got brought up to WWF, Vince for whatever reason, isn't a tag team guy.
No. But in 87, 88, and 89, I would argue in 87, 88, 89, as much as I love the Midnights and etc. and Rock and Roll Express, I would argue the WWF had the best tag team roster for that 3-year period.
Oh, God, yeah, they did. But the problem was, and again, I understand Hulk Hogan sells the tickets, but imagine if they had gotten behind, like actually gotten behind some of these teams.
Killer Bees.
Yeah, like...
Well, for this exercise, number 270 is Joe Malenko, 5'10", 220, 14 years pro, son of Boris Malenko, one of the most hated stars of the 60s and 70s, teams often with his younger brother Dean while competing in Japan, highly respected. From what I've seen of Joe, a fantastic worker, but I haven't seen enough to, I'll be honest, folks, I haven't seen enough to really grade him a fantastic worker. I don't know if I've ever even seen a promo.
I've never seen anything from him. Like, the only thing of the Malenkos I've seen is stuff from Boris. And if he's anything like those two, it's got to be solid.
Joe is a solid work. Like, I've seen more of his Japan stuff, like Japan matches, because like they'd fight like the Bulldogs and shit like that. And I know you guys, I'm a bigger fan of that type of wrestling than you guys, and I'm not like, oh, I'm a better wrestling fan than you because I like watching that. That's not what I'm saying.
Mm-hmm.
I'm just saying I like watching that. Like Nate was saying before you jumped on here, like I'll get on there and just like watch World of Sports matches because and Nate's doing this since I was a kid. That's the style of wrestling I enjoy watching. You know what I mean? Not that I don't like flashy stuff, but if I'm just gonna watch a match, I want to watch a match like that. You know what I mean? Like, oh, I don't need any of the story of it, like what led to this match or anything like that. I just want to watch a solid wrestling thing. Joe is, I don't want to say, this is going to sound silly. He's a less charismatic version of Dean. Like, and he's just like his brother too, because I've listened to like shoot interviews and shit with Joe Malenko. He's fucking funny. Like, he is funny as shit. But when that camera came on, it was just like, this is what we do. We're just workers. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
But he was even less charismatic than his brother.
You know, and that's the thing that always kind of got me. Like, does anybody know why Vince all of a sudden, like in the 90s, decided no more managers? Late 90s.
I think it was because of two things.
You say why no more managers?
Yeah.
I think it was because of two things. First, he was promoting wrestlers, i.e., and I'm just going to use them as two examples or three examples: Stone Cold, Rock, Shawn Michaels. He was promoting wrestlers that had big personalities and could do their own promos. And because of Russo, he got into the mentality of, if someone's escorting a wrestler to the ring, it should just be a woman with tits and ass. And I think that's what killed the manager.
That's part of it. But what also killed the managers was that territories went away, because heels, a baby face would stay, like a Bruno Sammartino or a Pedro Morales. You know what I mean? Mm-hmm. They'd have 7-year reigns as champion, but the heels would, like, if you were a heel, you're only going to be in this territory for 6 months. Okay. So it wasn't so much that the baby face was feuding with the heel wrestler. The baby face was feuding with the manager.
And the manager was bringing in the wrestler.
The manager was bringing in the wrestlers. Like Fred Blassie was the heel on the show, consistently cutting the promos, And he's like, oh, I'm going to bring in Stan Hansen now, and I'm going to try to get Stan to get. And I know he didn't manage Stan, but you know what I'm saying. Like the managers were the heels, the main heels of the show, and they were bringing in their foot soldiers, their charges or whatever, for 6 months to try to get the belt off the guy. That's what it was. That's what I think it was. The manager role kind of just worked its way out when the territories went away, in my opinion.
Right. It's just there's so many guys that, man, if they just had a manager, if they had a mouthpiece, would have been bigger stars than you could have ever imagined.
Mhm.
Like Nate, like an example of what I'm talking about is like we were talking about the other, because we brought up Boogie Woogie Man. You know, Boogie Woogie Man wasn't feuding with Pez Watley, with Shasta Watley and T.J. He was feuding with Paul Jones.
Paul Jones. Yeah.
You know what I mean? And that's why I think the manager kind of went away, because it got to the point it's like we don't need that anymore, because we're signing guys to fucking 2-year contracts and shit like that. Which is why you still see managers on indie scenes. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Because the manager's the guy that the manager now is the guy that's like buddies with the promoter. He's like, this guy's fucking funny. I'm gonna make him a manager, and he's gonna be the guy that's consistently on my show. Does that make sense?
It sure does. Number 269, Ivan Putski. 5'10", 242, 23 years pro. Polish power is still alive and well. Veteran strongman teams with his son Scott in IWCCW, teamed with Tito Santana to win the WWF Tag Team title in 1979.
Who was it? Who was it that brought Ivan back and they fucking got rid of the accent?
It was Vince.
And people are like, what the fuck?
Like, before he got to Vince, he was just like a beer-barreled or beer-bellied, like, Polish guy, and then Vince got him and jacked him up or whatever. And then I don't remember. Oh, was it? I don't know where Cornette talked about where he got back to a promotion and they were like, "Oh my god, they fucking ruined him. Like, this isn't anything like we went like before."
Mm.
I can't remember what promoter it was. It might have been Crockett. I don't know, but I've never been a big fan of Ivan Putski.
Me neither. 268, Pez Watley.
Pistol Pez.
5'10", 245, 16 years pro. Exciting competitor, has wrestled all over the country. Made debut in IWA in 1975. Formerly the Jive Tones with Tiger Conway Jr. Not above breaking the rules.
And when he joined, he was supposed to be, because this is a funny thing, Tony Schiavone talked about it. He was supposed to be, they called him Shaska Watley.
Yes.
He was supposed to be Shasta Watley. But Pez Watley fucking couldn't pronounce Shasta. So he was like, I'm Shaska Watley. That's not supposed to be your name. And then it just became his name because he couldn't fucking pronounce the name that they gave him. So they're like, all right, fuck it. You're Shaska. I just thought that was funny. Like, apparently you guys don't, but
I thought he was a great worker, a great hand.
And when he was a heel, he was entertaining.
Mm-hmm.
With the top hat and the fucking I liked him.
Please tell me that when he was a heel, he was a German sympathizer and his name was Swastika.
Well, at times he did team with Baron von Raschke.
Look out, Baron von Raschke.
That's all the people need to know. Number 267 is the Tasmaniac. 5'11", 245, 4 years pro. Uncontrollably violent rule breaker, is the new IWCCW light heavyweight champion, managed by Tony Rumble. Many fans want this unsavory beast banned. We know who he is to become.
Yes. People don't know, he's to become Taz, and he is like a guy that I compare to Jesse Ventura, where I love the personality, and I became a bigger fan of him when he stopped wrestling and became a commentator.
Me too.
Like as a wrestler, it's like, yeah, I'm not gonna knock fucking Taz as a wrestler because he was good, but I'm much more entertained by his personality than his work.
Is he? I don't know. Like, was he really that great of a worker? You know what I mean?
You know what? Here's what I'll say, Kyle. He was perfect in his role in ECW.
Yeah, he was.
Outside of that, he was fine. You know, but like Aaron said, he was a better personality than he was a wrestler. But I mean, I'll say his ECW work, he was great there.
I think the biggest thing too is that, like, when you look at Taz in ECW at that time, like, he was the off standard of the hardcore style, and so by definition, it's the whole big fish, small pond, where he can be the tough badass. But then when you get to the WWF, it's like, yeah, okay, you're probably good, but we've got Kurt Angle, we've got.
Or can we push you as a badass, but legitimately put you in the ring with fucking Kane?
Yep.
Yeah, and he's a prime example of what Heyman did. Fantastic. Was let's take away the things that, like, the holes that people are going to see in your act, and only accentuate what the positives, the things you do good. Like, don't pay attention to the. Do you get what I'm saying?
Mm-hmm. Oh yeah, sure.
Like Paulie did a good job of going, okay, this guy's a fucking fire hydrant. You know what I mean? Like, he's this little compact fucking badass. But when he got to the WWE or the WWF, it was like, eh.
Well, and he's a prime example of, and to your point, Aaron, about him being a better personality like Jesse than a wrestler. His promos.
Yeah, ECW TV, you'd see snippets of his match. You'd see him slamming somebody, slamming somebody on their head, or suplexing somebody on their head or whatever. But then you'd hear him talk, and you're like, oh, this guy's a badass. And you forget that he's like fucking 5'5" and what? Yeah.
Like one of the most, and I'm looking forward to getting to it eventually. I don't even remember what year it was from, but one of my most vivid memories of ECW was the segment where he's in the ring and Shane Douglas is up on the balcony and he's calling out Shane Douglas.
Yeah, it's 97.
And it's so good. He's so good in that environment. Like, get down here. I want to kick your ass.
Yeah, that's 97, because that's when they were going. That's when they were doing the cross promotion shit with the WWF, and like you said, we'll get there eventually. But yeah, and the fucking Sabu Taz feud was fantastic.
Mm-hmm.
It's all good shit.
Number 266, Toshiaka Kawada. 5'10", 230, 10 years pro, All Japan mainstay, brings fans to arenas in the force. Not as flashy as other Japanese stars, but gets the job done. Top contender to most All Japan titles. And I'm gonna say again, I don't know a lot about him, Kawada. I've seen some matches. I've seen some of that, like the highlights, and another strong style guy.
I'll pull an MJF. I'm not going to pretend like I watch Japanese wrestling.
And I'm the same way. That was the best line in a promo in the past decade. I don't pretend to watch New Japan. Number 265, Rip Morgan. 6'4", 270, 8 years pro. Tough and ready New Zealander as a member of the royal family with Jacko Victory. Former flag bearer of the Sheep Herders. Rick Morgan, he's a fine worker.
Yeah.
You know, I mean,
I actually liked the royal family gimmick. And I like Jacko Victory. Jack Victory's kind of like a unsung wrestler, in my opinion. But they were what they were, and they were never going to be like your fucking main event tag team or whatever, but they were
Right.
a good little gimmick.
Two more, and then we will sign off. The first one, 264, Firecat. 5'7", 236, 1 year's pro. Newcomer has competed in UWF, GWF, and Florida in his first few months in the sport. All-out athletic style has been compared to Cheetah Kid and Jushin Liger. Do you guys remember Firecat? I don't remember this.
I have
Yeah, you gotta do two more because I have nothing on Firecat.
All right, we'll do two more. Maybe three more because there might be one you don't. Anyway, 263. We all know this guy by a different name. Mondo Clean. 6'3", 270. 270, 4 years pro. Native of China, whatever, is a brutal bone buster. Claims he is untrained as a pro, but shows learned ring skills. Crushing knee drop is his favorite finishing move. I'm actually currently watching.
His work shows that he's untrained as a pro.
I'm actually currently watching 92 and 90, early 93 WWF and WCW with Damian Demento getting promos and stuff on Superstars. And that guy was not very good.
No.
He had a cool look.
He can say that he main evented the first Raw.
Yeah, against The Undertaker.
So he can say that.
He can say that, but he wouldn't say it well because he can't cut a fucking promo.
Fucking idiot.
God.
He sucks.
His thing on his promos that I've noticed, like on the event centers and stuff, is he's always like, "And so it shall be said, and so it shall be done."
Yeah,
What? Fuck are you talking about?
Dude, sucks.
261 is Ken Timms. The only thing I remember Ken Timms of is watching Mid-Atlantic and Bob Cottle being like, "Oh, there's old Ken Timms." But anyway, Ken Timms, 5'11", 235, 12 years pro, very successful in Mexico, where he is now known as El Fabuloso Blondie.
Fabuloso.
That caught me by surprise. Sorry, folks.
Isn't that the fucking floor cleaner you buy from fucking Dollar General?
It is literally called Fabuloso.
And
it's $1 for like a 64-ounce bottle.
Yeah, I gotta clean my kitchen floor with my El Fabuloso Blondie.
Lilac.
Yeah,
It's a lilac scent.
Oh,
that's his partner,
Louis Lilac.
Louis El Fabuloso Lilac.
Let's round it off with 260. People
Can the name of the show be El Fabuloso Blondie?
We'll end this show with number 260. One of the greats of all time. Gotta love this guy. Nikolai Volkov.
Yes.
6'7", 280, 23 years pro at this time. Soviet was hated for most of his career, but now has adopted the U.S. as his home, teamed with Iron Sheik to win the WWF title in 1985. Barrel-chested strongman. Man, can you name a guy that, what do I want to say, worked in so many promotions under so many names, so many gimmicks, always successful, great worker. He wasn't always the flashiest, and yeah, sure, by this time he'd slowed down and blah, 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 but He was one of the Mongols. He was one of the integrate parts of the Mid South territory in the early '80s, and came to the WWF and just sustained for so long. Nikolai was great, man.
And he's a guy like when we were talking about Brian Adams, like have you and I'm not saying like because I know Brian, like when we were talking about Brian Adams, we were talking about his demons and shit. But like he's a guy like a Brian Adams or an Owen or whatever that have you ever heard anybody be like in a shoot interview like, oh, Nikolai Volkov, that guy was a fucking prick.
Never.
You know what I mean? He was just a good natured dude. And my favorite wrestling book is Fred Blassie's book, Listen Up You Pencil Neck Geeks. It's my fucking favorite wrestling book ever. And he's talking about Nikolai because he had a lot of time with Nikolai. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
And they gave him that Soviet gimmick or whatever. And he hated that. Like, he hated the Soviet regime and all that. Like, like he did not love communism. He thought it was terrible. Like, he told Freddie, he's like, that's why I left. Like, I left there to come here because I hated that. And now they want me to be the Soviet or whatever. And Freddie was like, that's the thing, man. You gotta like
Essentially make fun of it.
Make fun of him. He's like you're getting that back now. You take everything you fucking hate about him and accentuate it in your own personality to show people that this shit's
Ridiculous.
stupid and ridiculous. And it added, like I said with the Bushwhackers, it added fucking years to his career. You know what I mean? And Freddie said that he got him back in touch with his, like, Freddie had a daughter that he didn't know, and he got him back involved with her, you know, and he was like almost like an Owen Hart too, where like Freddie said like this dude would like fucking make eggs on a hot plate in his fucking hotel because every dime that he was making on the road, he was sending back to his kids and his wife. Like Nikolai Volkov was just everything I've ever read about the guy. Obviously, I never met him, but everything I read about the man was just a stand-up, honest, good dude. And I've never, ever heard anybody just be like, Nikolai Volkov was a motherfucker. You know what I mean? Never heard anybody say it.
Nikolai Volkov has one of my favorite moments in pro wrestling. I don't know how familiar anybody is with Wrestling Regret with Ryan Zane on YouTube. But anyways, so he does like reviews or whatever, and he does these reviews of these videos that he got like at Walmart or something, like at the dollar bin. And it was apparently a Jewish wrestling event where they had a guy dress up, called him the Mighty Maccabee. But anyways, Nick Volkov is there, and he starts singing the Russian national anthem, right? Doing his gimmick. And people start kind of like booing, get bored with it, and all of a sudden he kicks into the fucking Jewish cheer dance song.
The Hanan Gila?
Send it to you guys because oh my god, it's so fucking good.
And you know what? That's what I was going to say. Is he was another guy. Aaron was talking about adding years to his career in the WWF. He was another guy that got it.
Yeah.
And the prime example is Cara Mia Mine.
Yeah, man, it's funny. And
it's fantastic.
And on the wrestling fucking tape or whatever, after it's done, it's like this man's like, "What the hell was that?" Like he doesn't say that. It's like, "Oh my god,
oh my god."
Yeah, and one of his other best friends in the wrestling business was the Iron Sheik, and like I said, I don't know any of these people, never met any of these people, never been on the road with these people, but is there a more fucking like Odd Couple, like imagining the Iron Sheik
Nikolai Volkov.
and Nikolai Volkov on the road together. Like, oh, like Nikolai's, oh my god, like
Nikolai leading his clean life, sending money back to his family.
and
Sheik
fucking
getting his hands on every pill and drug he can possibly get.
I bet it was fucking hysterical to see it.
Well, that is it for this week in the PWI 500. We got to 260, so we're almost halfway there. Once we get through this 500, Kyle, and you are more than welcome to join us and give your nominees.
Halfway there, we're a blinking on a pair.
But when we get done with this, the next episode after we get done with however long it takes us to get through this will be the 2022 We Can't Wrestle Podcast Hall of Shame.
Oh, yeah.
Are we supposed to send you our inductees or not?
As soon, whenever you can, because this is probably going to be a few more episodes.
I just didn't know if I didn't know if we were supposed to send the inductees to make sure nobody repeated somebody or not. Because I have mine on my phone.
You know,
can.
You know what we should do, in all honesty, is we should everyone send in their nominees. Like what 5 or 10 or whatever it is.
We're doing 3.
Okay. I did 4.
Okay, that's fine.
The Hall of Shame's my thing. So I'm gonna put
So, but everyone should send in theirs, and then we should all vote on who we think should make the list.
Ooh, it's a twist.
Well, we'll take that into consideration. Maybe.
But Kyle, you have to unmute the chat so you can see it, because I don't think you can see the chat, the admin chat right now.
Maybe I can't. Dude, I am fucking.
Because like Aaron said, you died for 7 years, so.
Look, I'm going to be honest with you, wholeheartedly.
It's like Paul McCartney. Everybody thinks you're dead.
Yeah, it's true. I just come up with a fucking CD cover with the fucking hidden messages and everything else. But I'm honest with you. It probably got turned off, and I have no fucking idea how to turn it back on. I mean,
that's my job. I will figure that out to get you back in there. But it has been a pleasure to have Kyle back on the show. It has been a pleasure to have the originals. Well, it's like Hall, Nash, and Hogan. You know, it's the original NWO with no disrespect, Archie, but with no Michael Wall Street.
Well,
Archie's not Michael Wall Street.
I know.
No. I think he'd be the Ted DiBiase.
Trillionaire Arch. I like it. He'll get it. He'll think it's funny anyway.
Yes, he will.
But it has been great to have you on the show, Kyle.
Does that mean I'm going to die soon? Because I'm probably Scott Hall.
Jesus Christ. No, time.
I'll die before you. I got the diabetes.
Just whatever you do, don't fucking break.
Yes, just said yeah. Not meaning it that way. Just to crash. It's like, yeah. You're the fucking mad dog Vashon of the group.
I'm gonna have a fake leg. And Kyle's like, Jesus Christ, what did I step back into?
Yeah. Oh. Step back with no foot. This is a funny story because you can end the show and then I'll tell you what I said, or I can leave it on here if you want. I don't care.
Go right ahead.
I was off Memorial Day weekend. Like I had it off, so I was like, sweet, I'm off Memorial Day weekend. And I went to go to the Edition, which is a bar and grill in town. If you guys don't know what that is, it's kind of a fancier place or whatever. I was like, oh, I'm gonna go there and get some mid-afternoon drinks in. And they were closed. I was like, fuck. But the Black Angus is right across the street. I never go in there. So I go in there and I'm like, I guess I'll drink in here. And I got like 8 beers in, and the bartender was doing a good job. She kept bringing me drinks. Like, boom. She's like, she could tell when I was done, brought me a beer. So this chick's doing a good job. She's going to get like a $10 tip. And she was like, hey, man. I was like, yeah. She goes, we're closing soon, but I've been watching your cadence of drinking, and I think you can get 2 more in before we close if you want. And I said, nah, I'm good. I got to go pick up my kids. I just got up and walked out. and I told this to a buddy at work. And he goes, are you ever going to go back there again? I said, yeah. And he goes, what are you going to say the next time you go in? I'm like, I'll just drink. And then she's like, do you need another one? And I'll just be like, nope, got to go to my kid's funeral.
Jesus Christ.
And my buddy was like, I didn't know you were so dark.
Brought Piper and It's Always Sunny. Like, oh, you got kids?
I had them.
Well, this has been truly a pleasure this week.
You can edit that out.
Got that pissed off at $15? I love you guys.
All right, Aaron, any parting words for our listeners this week?
Nope. Just thanks for listening, guys. Appreciate it. Remember, get on and listen to the Reliving the Extreme. If you like this, you're going to love that and all the other shows. And I just appreciate all 10 of you that are listening.
Kyle, any parting words for your listeners?
All I'm going to say is it's great to be back. If you know anybody who is an artist or a musician, podcast, doesn't matter. It costs nothing to support them and believe.
Yes.
So we're all in this together, man. Like, everybody has their things they want to do. So let's fucking support each other.
Absolutely. And that is one of my themes. Just since I started, or I guess I say stopped shitting on things I don't like in wrestling. I'm just using wrestling as an example, but music, art, whatever. Like I've said a few times, I don't like Kenny Omega, so now I just don't watch Kenny Omega.
Right.
You know, and that's my thing. And I'm not saying we never joke and we never diss on Brutus Beefcake or whatever. You know what I mean? But what I'm saying is, like Kyle said, the most important thing is to lift people up. You know, if you support something, if you love this show, tell people you love this show.
If you don't like the show, just don't fucking listen to it.
Yes, exactly. Just lift up what you like and don't pay attention to what you don't like. It's that simple. Yeah. Life is short, man. And that's the thing. You know, it's
my biggest thing is enough of the fucking gatekeeping and stuff. You know what? If this person likes this, you know what? It's chocolate vanilla. I'm not gonna be mad at you if you like chocolate. I don't want the chocolate. I want vanilla, but fuck, want, you know.
Yeah, and if you want the strawberry, get the fucking strawberry. You want the snozberries? They taste like snozberries.
We all love the fact that it's ice cream. We all love the fact that it's wrestling.
Yes.
So.
And my parting words are, first, Aaron, thank you, brother.
You're welcome.
And Kyle, it has been a pleasure to have you back on the show.
It's been great, man. I'm glad to be back. Like I said, my goal is to be back from here on out and actually be back into this stuff. So things kind of settle down.
And we missed you, but we never forgot you. and we are happy to have you back in the fold. And
Archie Mitchell, I'm coming for you, man.
Oh my.
Archie, I'm coming for you, brother.
He's trying to take your spot.
I mean,
All right, everybody. Thank you for joining us this week on the We Can't Wrestle podcast. And we will see you next week as we continue going through the inaugural PWI 500. Have a great week, everybody. And we'll see you next time around.